We are now joined by Boise State University and head coach Chris Petersen, along with offensive lineman Joe Kellogg and quarterback Jamar Taylor. We'll go ahead and open this session with an opening statement from Coach Petersen.
We're excited for media days because that means that football is shortly around the corner, and we're really excited to get out and get back on the practice field. I think we had a really good spring ball, a lot of new guys, some of the old guys getting better, but a lot of new guys, and it was good to see the progress that was being made there. And since then, you know, we can't coach them, but I know that they've worked hard in the off season, and hopefully that they've taken a step on their own. That's always something that we're into and very important to us, and the kids seem to get that. And so if they've done that, we'll make progress in August, and we'll be excited to play.
Thank you, Coach. We'll open it up to questions for Coach Petersen and the student athletes.
Chad Kripe, Idaho Statesman. Pete, you look around this league, and I think there was 3 returning first-team all-league players. You guys obviously lost a ton of stars, some new players, or some new teams, a bunch of new coaches. A completely different look than what you saw last year when you looked around this league?
It is different, and I think the first thing that jumps out to me is just a lot of true parity. I think when you try to analyze who's got an upper leg on anybody, I mean, I think there's truly a handful or plus teams that could do some very good things. And I think it's going to come down to certainly first and foremost who stays healthy, and then who improves as the season goes on. And I really believe that there's quite a few teams that could do some damage in this league.
Tom Scott, various places. Jamar, your 100-yard interception return in the Las Vegas Bowl, you weren't 100%. You kind of alluded to that you weren't 100% on that interception return, yet you wheeled down there anyway. How are you now? Are you fully healthy and ready to go?
100%.
100%.
Yeah.
What about the secondary in general? I mean, that was the area last year that was hurt the most by injuries. What do you see in the secondary?
Well, we're young. We have 2 seniors with me and Jarrell coming back, but we're progressing. We have some guys that actually got some playing time last year, but we're doing good. We're taking the right steps, or we have taken the right steps this summer, and we're just all looking forward to camp starting so we can just get better with our coaches.
Kelly Lyle with the Fort Collins, Colorado. And Joe, what would it mean for you guys to be able to go out on top in your last year in the Mountain West? Obviously, you've been able to do that in other conferences as a program.
Yeah, definitely. Coming into the season every year, our main goal is to win the conference, and just like seasons in the past, that's what we're really striving to do. And we're not really concerned with next season, and we're just really going to focus on this season, do our best.
We'll go right here, down here in the front row.
Mark Anderson, Las Vegas Free Journal. Coach, can you just talk about what you expect your final season in the Mountain West? Where do you think the Mountain West is headed, and just the changes in general?
Well, I think there's been some good changes in the Mountain West. I think there's some really good teams that have added in. You know, we really haven't given it, like Joe's saying here, much thought about this being our last year. We live day to day, week to week, and certainly one season at a time. And what happens next year is of absolutely no concern to us. We're really fixated and focused on having a good year, trying to win this conference, which we couldn't get done last year with a really good team. And I think our kids are very motivated for a lot of different reasons. One, that we didn't get it last year. 2, there's a lot to prove with all the guys that left us. And these kids have a lot of pride, and I know they'll work their tail off, and they'll fight hard.
Pete, I know last season, it was exciting for you since you had so many guys who played so many games for you coming back. This year, guys who do have experience but maybe aren't the big names and stuff like that, and still going to be a lot of battles in fall camp. How excited are you for this season, knowing that there's going to be, in August, a lot of good competition?
I think competition is what it's all about. I mean, if there's one theme that possibly runs through our program, that would be the one that I get most excited about. And so I hope we have a lot of competition at all groups. I hope Jamar gets pushed hard by one of these freshmen or some guy that we weren't counting on, and Joe as well, because it's going to make them better. And I mean, these are very focused kids, but when you have someone breathing on you and challenging you every day, that's good. That's healthy, and we like that. And so I think that's one of the reasons that we are excited about this, because there's a lot of unknowns, but I think there's a lot of guys that are hungry and will really go hard.
Pete, I think most of the coaches who were up here without a starting quarterback yet really expressed an urgency to get it done in the first week of fall camp and get that done. And you haven't really taken that approach. Can you talk about sort of your approach with the situation this year and how you're going to, particularly with 4 guys?
Yeah, I think it's always easiest certainly if you know who it is, but when you don't, you want to get it right as you can, and the guy that deserves the opportunity to go with it. And so I don't think about it in terms of time. I think about it in terms of when we know and when it's right, and that's just kind of been our approach.
Joe, Brian Murphy with the Idaho Statesman. Joe, there's a lot of guys on this team who aren't necessarily returning starters but have played an awful lot for you. When you look around the locker room, do you feel a confidence in that the guys have experience, or do you look and say, hey, we lost a lot of guys, it'll take some time to see what we have?
Yeah, I definitely think that we have 22. I think we have 22 seniors, and all of them have considerable amount of either starts, playing time, or they've had some kind of mop-up duty in the past, and it's going to help a lot going into fall camp this year. Just bringing along the younger players too. So I think we have a good amount of experience that people don't know about with our senior players.
Mike Brohart from the Reporter Herald. Coach, when you look at the fact of all the losses that you've had, and yet you're still picked to win the conference, that type of respect, when you get that, is that when you as a coach know you've gotten your program where you want it?
I think that the approach and the mindset that we have in our program is respect is earned, not given. And that's what I think about preseason polls, that somebody's just giving you something that you haven't truly earned. And so that's why we've never paid attention, whether you rank us first or rank us last. It's something that's just given and it's not earned. And I think we're all about earning whatever we can do out there. And we kind of always have a chip on our shoulder about preseason polls. We know it's good for college football, and people like it, and the media likes it, and the fans are into it. But we really have not paid attention to that. I mean, last year, we were picked first. We didn't get it done. And so we're well aware of that.
We have some Twitter and Facebook questions, and Jamar, I'm going to start with you. We've kind of hit on this a little bit. Well, I'll have you expand on it. Kevin Masters from Pocatello was talking about only the 3 defensive starters that return. All 3 are defensive backs. Of course, you talked about the injuries to that position last year. What type of leadership role have you had to take in trying to educate the newcomers, or even those guys that haven't really played a whole lot heading into this season?
I think just being more vocal. I'm usually like a guy that just try to lead by example, but now I have to be more vocal, express my knowledge of the game to the other guys. Jimmy Lake, our new coach, he kind of explains that, our coaches don't teach us stuff so we can just hold it in. So when you get the young guys around you, you just try to teach them the best way you can. The good thing about our secondary, we have a lot of guys that have played, but they're still willing to learn. So when you have that, it always just makes a group way better. We're all pushing each other to be better, so we all help each other out. I mean, they teach me, I teach them, and that's the kind of approach that we're taking.
Joe, a question for you from Tim Helton from Spokane, Washington. He was interested in knowing, with all the offensive power that was lost last year, have you gotten to know any of the names that fans should get to know this year, of who they should start to look out for at different positions, names that could become household names in the future?
You know, like you said, we've definitely lost we lost a few players from last year. You know, the Kellen Moores, the Doug Martins, but you know we have a lot of talent coming back. You know, DJ Harper, he's been around for a long time now, and he's been getting the job done. He's a great running back, and you know the Matt Millers, Geraldo's. You know, we have a lot of players coming back in the skill positions that'll help us do good things this year.
I'm impressed. I thought he would go with 5 offensive linemen.
Coach, we can't let you get away with that one. So Cindy Jensen from Boise has a quick question, and hers is, how do you maintain, and they've kind of talked about it a little bit here, but how do you maintain the level of expectations that the fans have for you to win championships, conference championships, year after year? Is that just the encouragement to the program at that point, or how do you maintain those expectations, the fans?
Yeah, we love our fans, but we also try not to pay too much attention to them because I think we'd never be satisfied if we locked into that. I always say this, there's no higher expectations in Boise than in our football complex. And I think the kids lock into it. I mean, they have extremely high standards. Our coaches do. We expect to do well. We expect to win. But I think it's all about doing things right every day, day in and day out. And if we can do that Monday through Friday, we'll feel good about Saturdays. And so it's really locking into the expectations of how the process goes, and not get so hung up on this is what has to happen on Saturday.
Back to the preseason polls, Mitch was the special teams player of the year. Just what do you expect out of him this year? Obviously a big punt return before. You going to get him more involved as a kick returner? What kind of role do you see for him?
Well, I think that's interesting since Mitch isn't even going to be our starting punt returner. So that tells you a little bit. I'm just kidding, Mitch. But he might not be. Chris Potter's got something to say about that. You know, I think we do going into it. We got 2 really good punt returners. I mean, Chris Potter's done some great things there. But, you know, I think that's the Boise way. That's the Bronco way is to, you know, I'm happy that they acknowledge Mitch, and I think he's going to do some really good things. I think he's going to have a really good senior year as a returner and as a receiver. But I could say the exact same thing about Chris Potter, and I think that. And so I think that's what our team is all about, that, you know, we are a team, and it's not about acknowledging one guy for preseason player of this or player of that. It's us going out and earning the true respect that these kids want, and developing and getting better. And you know, all these seniors, these 2 guys up here with me, Mitch Burrows, I'm excited. But I'm excited. What I'm really excited about is to see them take that next step, not to play the same that they did in the past, and they played very well, but to have that excellent senior year where it's like they got better. And we said this many times, for these guys to get better, that's something, because they played a lot of football. We know the young guys are going to get better. We need these guys to take the next step, and when that happens, then we're doing what we need to do.
Jamar, can you answer this? Where does the confidence, can you explain where the confidence come from, how it builds that you guys as players know that the guys that are going to be filling in the roles are going to do their job?
I think it just takes day by day. Like Coach says, as long as we go day by day, you know, practice by practice, that's where the confidence comes from. Just to know that that guy's going to execute his job. You can't really worry about that too much. You have to worry about yourself and just play fast. And if you're playing fast, obviously it'll show up on film if we're starting to be that unified team. So I think that's where you get it from, just taking the coaching and just trying to execute the best way you can, and it just shows up on film.
Coach Mick McGrain from the Mountain West Conference, obviously in recent history you have not shied away from playing that pretty big game at the opening of the season. Has that become important to you, and why?
I've shied away. Our players haven't. I don't want to play them. I think it's I don't know how it's happened. It just kind of has evolved that every year we seem to be opening up with a really good opponent. I think it's interesting because sometimes you can't tell how good an opponent's going to be, but I think the opponents that we've been scheduling, we know they're going to be good, the tradition of their programs, and our players like that. You know, a little bit different this year because we have a little less experience than we've had in the past going in. We're going into a true opponent's field that we haven't done the last 2 years, and again, a really, really good opponent. I think a top 10 team for sure. And so it'll be a great challenge, and I think those things are nice for fall camp. We really try to focus on ourselves in fall camp and not get too hung up in our opponent. But I know when you got a team like Michigan State lurking in the back of your mind, it's hard to not forget about them.
Paul Gerke with KIVI. I'm going to lighten the mood a little bit, Coach Pete. My predecessor used to ask you if you own a sword. Do you still own a sword, and when are we going to see it this season?
I actually have even a better sword. I keep upgrading. I think my staff ended up getting me a new sword for Christmas. So it's a real samurai sword. Yeah, you should come see it. It's very sharp. I think I've already cut my fingers on it, but it's there. And it's blue and orange. It's a blue and orange samurai sword. Used to be just black.
Hey, Joe, with the experience on the offensive line, you have a chance to really make the running game go this year, and that's kind of the unseen thing. What have you seen out of the running backs in player run practices this summer?
All the running backs are participating, and they're all looking very well. They're all healthy, and they're especially the two new guys. They're looking really good. They're running the ball hard, and then even the veterans.